advantage I found. Couldn't find a better fit for them, along with my crown. And since the baton was passed, I've been down. Cause failing's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
Welcome to another episode of Dad is Not a Noun. My name is Ishmael, changing the narrative for men of color fatherhood, but also changing the narrative about the things I care about. And today, what I care about is own the vision. And my special guest here with me today, he is a husband, a father, the chief visionary of Own the Vision, Jason L. Warner. Thank you for coming on the show, sir. And my first question to you, how's your heart?
And brother, first, thank you for having me on the show. And I appreciate that first question. My heart is good, right? I'm here. That's first, I'm here. A lot of folks didn't wake up. I was talking to some buddies of mine. We talk about, we have a lot of first world problems, right? And my wife and I were talking about how, I'm in Atlanta and we had 9-degree weather the other day, and just thinking about the blessing to just be able to sit in a warm home. So, considering everything that's going on, I'm really good. Thank you.
That's good. And how are you mentally health wise? Because that's the one thing in our Black community, as we heard the tragic story of Twitch, and because he's a known celebrity, that took over the media, but there's other stories just like him that's dealing with that same issue. So how are you doing mental health wise?
I think, one, thank you for asking that as well. I think part of it is mental health is just like exercise, right? You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, but you still have to always flex that muscle. You always have to work every single day. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days that you're going to feel like not doing anything. And then you think about why you do what you do every single day. And we keep pushing. So, I would say if we're out of 10, I'm probably a 7 all the way around. There's room for improvement every time, but I'm pretty good. Thank you.
No, thank you. And I appreciate your honesty, because that's the one thing about this platform, is that I want this to be a place for us as men to be vulnerable and just share our stories, because that's the one thing is I constantly get, I'm good. And that kind of gives me a feeling that something's not good. So, and again, I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that with me.
I think we're conditioned, unfortunately, to say I'm good, right?
Yeah.
I was talking to another friend of mine, and he always says, I can't complain. Who's going to do anything about it, right? And as men, too often, our voices tend to go muted. And even if you express it, when you talked about the brother Twitch and others, right? Too often it goes in through one ear and out the other. So I think we're too often conditioned to just say I'm good and try to figure it out internally. But I truly appreciate you asking that question.
No, man. No, it's all love, brother. And from the heart to the vision. So break down from the heart to the vision.
So
how do they parallel to each other?
and it does, right? So my background is crisis communication. Done that professionally for 20 plus years. And when we look at Own the Vision and where that came from, it's solving the crisis in our community. And for us, it literally became a situation where we said we can't continue to wait on others. And I have the shirt on, right? You can't solve a problem with the same mindset used to create it. We can't continue to wait on others, but we have to look inside and create the blueprint for ourselves, because the writings are on the wall. We just have to read, right? And with Own the Vision is literally owning our vision of success, whatever that looks like to you, but being a catalyst to spark change in our communities through raising capital, seeding that right back into the community, $1 at a time. And that's how we started, and that's what we continue to do. We continue to, support small businesses. We support college students through partnerships and collaborations. Not too long ago, we gave funds to some young people at Clark Atlanta University here in Metro Atlanta, and literally showing that collectively we don't have to wait on a savior. We literally can own our own vision of success.
And I agree with that too, 100%, that we are the master of our own destiny. But before we get there, how, because I'm a strong believer of it takes community to raise an adult. You
Right.
know, I kind of flipped it a little bit, but like just like talk about your mentors to help you cultivate your vision. Because it's important that yes, you have a vision,
Right.
but how do you cultivate it? So who are the people that help you cultivate your vision and put you into the place that you are today?
You know, I love the fact that we're talking about like this. Dad is not a noun, right? I like to credit my parents a lot. My parents have been married for, well, this year, well, 2023 will be 47 years. And my dad has always been there, always been active in showing, creating solutions, right? I remember growing up, you never could really ask a question in our household. When I asked my parents a question, they would follow it up with a question. What do you think? And it was those problem solving skills, right? So that started at a very young age. But exposure and access. I was going back to those first world problems. I've been blessed to be in situations where I've been exposed to so many different things. Uh, as a kid growing up in Miami, I was the only black kid in a all white Boy Scout troop. Very affluent troop. One of the parents owned an airline, and flew us to Aruba and Cancun and different things like that. So again, being exposed to, so those where the vision comes when you see the opportunity, right? For me, when I was young, I didn't like, when you grow up now, you know you're the only black kid there. Um, However, when once you're in that mix, you like, well, if Chris's dad can do it, I can do it. If such and such dad can do it, I can do it, right? So it was that exposure and access that propelled to say, you know what, we can literally make change. We can literally do the things that many have seen to be impossible, and that's where that comes from, right? Having strong role models, strong people in my life. My parents, again, like I said, they have been stable. I was on a flight to a higher education conference some years back, and had a white guy sitting next to me here and a white lady sitting next to me there. And I don't know how race came up, and I was like, yes, let's have this conversation. Um, and, talking about working really hard and this, that, and the third. And they said, oh, you seem to be in a good place. I said, well, I'm an anomaly, right? Um, and I'm an anomaly in America. I grew up in a household with both parents there. Me, my mom, my dad, and my brother. Right? There's no outside kids. It's just us.
Right.
My mom has a master's degree. My maternal grandmother and grandfather both graduated from college. Grew up children of sharecroppers. My maternal grandmother had a master's degree. Right? So when you start to look at those things, it's like you were exposed to a lot of different things, and that's how things propelled. And that's why I said I'm an anomaly, but it doesn't have to be that way. And it also goes to the point where you're exposed to your circumstances. I grew up in a situation where most of my friends' parents were there, right? The neighborhood we grew up in, like, I knew their mom and their dad. There may have been one or two single family households, and I have to catch myself often, because my reality is not everyone's reality. All right. But my reality can expose people to, there can be different realities than their own as well.
Right. And that's the one thing, as a community leader, like how is it how's there's a struggle in trying to get the community a part of what you're trying to do, if they've never seen it before. So
No,
where's like, how do you keep on going on motivating yourself to try to help a community to strive and be better and take those steps
You
if
know,
they've
it's
never seen it before.
it gets frustrating, right? And to be honest, this last year, I took a step back and did focus on Jason and family, right? Uh, I said that I can do more good focusing on my full time work, um, and being able to open doors for people that don't look like me. I work in big tech, in crisis communication in big tech, and allowing people that look like me an access into the door, right? So the boots on the ground work that I had been doing for years, I said, you know what? The pandemic showed a lot that we don't have a lot of time. Um, and at the same time, there are other ways to get to the mission, right? I don't have to beat people in the head and say, hey, let's help ourselves, let's help ourselves. I focused on being the example, and for folks that I can say, hey, let me expose you to X, let me expose you to Y. Take this technology cert, and I can get you in this door here, right? And then those people that you help, now they're going to help other people on the vision of success. They're going to help. So one of the things that had to be is a retool of thinking, because again, to your point, it gets frustrating. It's like, man, why don't we get it? I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we were like, man, maybe if we rolled up in Bentleys and private jets, people would want to see it, right? About 6 years ago, when I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina, the Bank Black movement was going large.
Yeah.
Single-handedly, I got over 1,000 people to become members of Mechanics and Farmers Bank.
Wow.
So people see the Killer Mikes of the world, and hats off. But we were on the ground doing it every single day, right? But if a Killer Mike or a Jay-Z says something, they're like, oh yeah, let's do it. This is a whole new thing, right? And there's days that you're like, man, maybe we need to do something different. And the different for me was trying to say, let me take a step back. Let me look at ways where we can expose people where they can get it. Because when you say donate $1 a month, $12 a year, how does that really change a community? Well, we got 44 million of us, and $44 million a month going right back into communities over and over again can do a lot. But sometimes the vision is too large for everyone else, right? I often say, I didn't get the vision for everyone, right, to understand. Now my goal is to try to shift to make sure that bite-sized pieces can be given to everyone. And the shift is, more exposure, working with groups where people are flocking to say, this is how we can help. I spent a lot of time this year working with an area technical college, right? Exposing people to the opportunities there in technical education, right? Showing young people that in 18 months, you can be a certified airplane mechanic, 20 years old, 19 years old, making 6 figures plus right out of school, flying the world for free because you work for one of the largest airlines. And you can get into the program and have no student debt, right? So those are the ways that I had to reshift and recalibrate, because yes, it gets a little tiring.
And I'm on board with you, what you're saying, because I feel like in our community sometimes I think you have to make it entertaining.
Yes.
You have to make a like a McDonald's jingle. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that, but unfortunately, that's what you have to do.
Hey, everybody knows the Calvin story, right? If you in the early 80s, like, I wanted to be Calvin. Calvin started walking down the street. He started working, doing fries, and then became the McDonald's manager, right?
Yeah.
And to that point, right, when I talked about technical colleges, and Atlanta Technical College is the one that I do a lot of work with. It's exposing people to, you don't have to be a lawyer or doctor, right? Lawyers are tradespeople, doctors are tradespeople, right? making trade sexy again. If you have a light on right now, I have a light on right now. I pay my power bill, and that light doesn't come on,
Yeah.
and there's not an outage. You're going to call an electrician.
Yeah.
You're going to call an HVAC person if it's 9 degrees in Atlanta and you need your heater fixed. And you're going to pay whatever it costs. If you need to go from point A to point B and your car doesn't work, if you go to any mechanic shop or car dealership in the country right now, you'll see a help wanted sign.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're looking for skilled talent to fill these roles. And they're starting people at $65, $75 an hour. All right. The math is the math, right? $75 an hour. You're talking about close to $180,000 a year. And you don't have to interact with people. All you got to do is clock in, clock out, do your work, go home. I don't know about many people that are listening and watching this podcast. The average household income in America is somewhere around $50,000 household.
Yeah.
So you're talking about $180,000 that'll take you 16 months of learning. And because of workforce investment dollars and other things like that, you can get there absolutely free with no debt. You don't have to be a rocket science. You don't have to be great with, the English language. But you can do a beyond a livable wage, right? And because the need is so much, now you can go back and holler at your friends that were in class with you and say, you know what? Yeah, I spent 5 years at this shop. We're going to open another shop and I got a pipeline of mechanics coming through. So now you're scaling that task. So not only were you making $180,000 a year, if you were able to make $180,000 a year, somebody was making $280,000 a year and paying you $180,000, or they were making $200,000 a year, right? And they said, I can multiply that and scale that. So I'll keep the 20. I'll give you 180, but I'll times that by 15 employees.
Wow.
Right? So those are the types of things that if we can expose people, we can say, there's more opportunities so all of us can own the vision of success.
And I think that's important too, because you just told the story of Tulsa, Black Wall Street right there.
Right.
And that one clip right there, you just told the history of the legacy of Tulsa right there, of just that's how you build community, and that's how you build wealth in community, and how you have that circle of generational circle wealth up just going into the community. So you just explained it right there. But just talk about the struggle of, being, you have this vision,
right,
as an entrepreneur and a family man. So talk about that dynamic of how do you balance the two?
It's interesting, right? Off camera, we were talking, and I apologize to you about having to reschedule. We were supposed to be on a previous day, and we're here today. And you said nothing to apologize, but my daughter had an event to go to, right? So one of the things that I consciously said to myself was, you can try to save the world, but if home is not good, what are you doing it for, right? So I consciously make sure that home is good first. We have an amazing situation. My wife and I, we have 4 children, and we're a blended family, right? So I have 2 biological children. She has 2 biological children. We have 4 children together, right? We don't use the word step in our house. We don't use bonus. These are our kids. And these kids have activities, and my wife and I were talking the other day, and it's like, man, I make them go and put their schedule on a Google Calendar. Like, wow. Literally, if it's not there, it didn't happen. I'm sorry. It's so much going on. But they're doing amazing things. And one of the things that is important to me is making sure that they have the support from us, and someone being there, someone being active into that because I was so thankful to have my parents active in my activities, from if it was school projects to playing basketball to track meets to scouting to little known Black history fact. I used to race BMX and I was really,
Okay.
really good.
Okay.
My dad traveled all up the Southeast with me on bikes until I
Wow.
had this huge growth spurt, and I went from like 5'6" to 6'2" in the summer, and
Okay.
it kind of derailed a lot of different things. I had some growing pains, but he was there.
Right.
And our children do some amazing things. Our oldest son, he's on a full scholarship to Tennessee State University. He graduated last May high school with 2 associate's degrees. He graduated a high school diploma, associate's degree in biology, and associate's degree in general studies, and is an 18-year-old senior at Tennessee State, majoring in accounting.
Wow.
Our second daughter, I'm butchering the name because they changed the name, but
Okay.
she was one of 2,000 students that applied to be in the Harvard Diversity Debate Project.
Wow.
It's now called the Veritas School of Social Sciences. And so about 50 kids made it this year. And it's a year-long intensive where every single Saturday, they're preparing for this 2-week residency at Harvard University to debate with young people from all over the world. In the last 5 years, the team from Atlanta has won. So they got heavy shoulders and shoes to fill. But just that exposure. My son, who's in 9th grade, just made the high school basketball team, right? And
Awesome.
I kind of told him, I said, you have to think about what that looks like. There's thousands of kids that try out.
Yeah.
For you to make a team, that's awesome. Excuse me. And the baby girl, she just got the highest score on the Georgia milestones in the school.
Wow.
I get a call and they say, "Oh yeah, we have a prize for your daughter." I'm like, "What are you talking about? She's moving on to 6th grade. The prize?" Like, they gave her a Nintendo Switch. She was like, "Yeah, she got the highest score in the school
Wow.
in the Georgia milestones." So like, we push them to be great, but we show up, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that we really do, and when I talk about that balance, is we never say you can't do, right? We talk about, let's figure out how we can do.
Right.
What are the options? What can make this happen? And we do set some boundaries. There's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Your siblings have something going on. This sibling has something going on. Mom has something going on. Dad has something going on. Mom and dad want to have something going on too.
Yeah.
So let's create some balance, right? And be cognizant of the other people in your circle. So I think we kind of run this family dynamic pretty well. Into this, my wife's an entrepreneur, right? So I try to support her business as much as I can. So I'm gonna do the shameless plug. If you're on Instagram, go to the Z Gallery Design. She's a craftswoman. Like, she builds custom barn doors, accent walls, dining room tables, all that, all from scratch. So support. Shout out to my wife Zara.
Definitely. That link will be in the description below in the YouTube channel. So definitely check that out. I love that.
So yeah, we put family first, right? And everything else is luxury. I think that's how I balance it. And it was intentional, because it used to be the other way around. I remember when I was really young, I was like, man, I want to be on the cover of Black Enterprise and this, that, and the third. And I want to have a big house and I want to do this. And when you look back, I was like, you know what? I really don't want this. I want my family to be good.
Yeah.
And anyone connected to me to be good. That's important, right? And like, I used to podcast a lot.
Right.
And I was like, I don't want to be famous. I want to be able to help people. And I think that there's a huge shift in like the priority and what's important, and even like the grind to go after, right? I think I still have a grind, but it's for a different reason. And sometimes we have those wake up moments. It's like, what is this all for? And I think to your question earlier, like, do you get tired of trying to push for everyone else? Yes. But that triggered something to say, continue to push for everyone else, but focus at home first. Because if home's not good, you can't be good for everything else. If Jason's not good, I can't be good for home, right?
Yeah.
And keep the main thing the main thing. And when I shifted that, things got easier to kind of manage. And will it get done? Will we have the partnerships? Will we grow? Will we expose people? Absolutely. But it kind of comes through like it is like that downward effect, because like you're climbing to the top for your good, and you can say, hey, here's the pathway, right? You'll get some scratches along the way, but the pressure's not there.
Right.
So yeah.
No, and I love what you're saying, because catch me if I'm wrong. I think a lot of people put a lot of negative connotation of being content, and I think from what I'm hearing from you is that you're content. You're in a great place. Like, you're not trying to be famous, and I think that's the one thing that our parents, before us, they were just happy to be able to pay. Don't worry about bills. We can go on vacation when we want to, and that's it.
It's interesting, right? And I credit my wife a lot for this. So my wife was born in Ethiopia and raised in Sweden. So she world traveled, grew up worldly. But one thing she said when we got together was, we're traveling. I don't care
Right.
what we're doing. So we prioritize vacation with the family. And you said vacation, right? So the chase changed for me, right? The chase was now is exposure. Now is seeing different things and bringing back the knowledge. So I can say, hey, you know what? You can do this. You don't have to be wealthy to be able to travel. You don't have to do all of these different things. Here's the blueprint to do that. You don't have to be wealthy or have a whole lot of money to get educated. Here are ways so that you can be able to get the education and the tools to success. And contentment, man, that piece is is, man, being able to just say, you know what, I'm okay with being okay.
Wow.
If we don't get a like, oh well. If we don't get a share, oh well. If someone doesn't decide to own the vision, oh well. We keep doing what we're supposed to do. We keep, inspiring, exposing, sharing, being good parents, being a good father, being a good human being. It's gonna all work out. And I think that hit me literally. I did a video right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Okay.
And it was like when everything first shut down.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how like you literally can hear the birds chirp. That the first time in Italy, like the water was clear and they saw dolphins running through the canals. Like first time in decades that smog was down. I said, instead of complaining about being locked up, like take time to breathe in and just like, wow, we have time to sit down for a second. Wow, we have time to be with family. Wow, nature is like healing itself. And it hit me as like, man, what are we chasing?
That's a great question.
What are we really chasing? What is really important, right? Are we doing it for someone else, or are we making sure we're good? And I actually looked at that video not too long ago, and I was like, man, you know what, Jason, continue to smell those roses. Like, don't run so hard that you don't take a sniff.
That's right.
Just stop and just look at nature. Stop and look at your kids and say, man, you're doing a pretty good job. But that's the important part to me.
And that's beautiful, man. I think that's important. I think if people watch this podcast, I think they should take that gem right there. It's okay to be content. It's all right. You're not. Don't try to compare yourself to anybody else. You're running your own race. Just run your own race. and that's it. If you're not good at home, then don't try to save the world. You know, take care of home first. When home is good, then try to do the best you can to help the world. But my last question to you is, I love where this conversation going.
Right.
When you talk about vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love that you brought the emphasis of structure. You got structure from home.
Right.
You took that structure, and that structure with your wife is at your home. So talk about that importance of structure, vision, and then also sometimes it may not go your right way, adapting, because sometimes your vision is going to change. So try to, I don't know if I broke it down to you in a for you to explain to the people out there, but yeah, talk about that transition from structure to vision, from vision to if it's not going your way, to adapt and kind of change your vision.
So structure has to be at the root of everything, right? So we're both in a building, right? It starts with a foundation, and then you have the four walls and the roof, right? I don't care where you are. It has to be that way, but it's the foundation of life. You have
Yes.
a spine that connects everything. That's your structure. You have a central nervous system. That's the structure of your nerves in your body, and that's what everything resides. Where people get off kilter, they try to do just piecemeal different things. They don't have a plan, right? It's just, let me shoot things. I remember dealing with a client years ago, and I was asking about like how they acquire what was their cost of acquisition for a new sale,
Right.
and they were like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "How much do you spend to acquire a new customer?"
Right.
I'm not sure. I said, "So right now you just throw money at the wall and see what sticks." There's no structure, right? So I've always been put in a situation where if it's the family structure, if it's my years in scouting, like understanding structure. My dad retired. He's a Vietnam vet. He had structure. My uncle retired Air Force, had structure. So that was always innate in me. But understanding there's rules to this. You follow it, you can win. Like there's nothing new under the sun. Um, Somebody put the blueprint, read the instructions or the structure for however it goes, and go there. But you asked something that was really poignant about how do you shift when things don't go your way. And I always say it's finding your why. The why never changes, right? So you're not shifting the why, you're only shifting the tactics, right? So your why or your purpose is going to be constant. There are going to be roadblocks. It's okay to pivot. Like this year, I took a step back and said, I'm going to still have the same why and purpose, but I'll take it from a different avenue. So for all of us, I think it's important to understand that there's going to be hiccups. It's never going to go your way. If you're a person of faith, you understand that there is a bigger plan. And I, honestly, sometimes the plan not going your way is going your way, right? Because you didn't see what was coming around the corner, right? The universe understood this is the pivot that you needed to take. This is the exit ramp you needed to take because there was bigger and better for you down that path. If you knew everything, why are we playing this game called life, right? So it's okay to shift. Keep your purpose and your why the same, but be open to a pivot in the tactics that go in. So, and I'll give this an analogy to, I guess, the business world, right? So, if something crazy happens at a corporation, they don't change their mission statement.
No.
They fix what happened, pivot back to the mission and mission forward, right? That's kind of life and pivoting when your vision doesn't seem to go how you want it. using the tools that you decided to use on there, right? So if you just say, you know what, I still have the main thing as the main thing. I might need to run the football 2 more times to set up that play action fake. I may need to drive to the hole, get a couple layups, and then everybody's going to collapse, and I have Steph Curry out in the corner shooting the three.
Yeah.
Like the mission is to win the game.
Yep.
The strategy and the tactics may have to change because there's going to be roadblocks, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be new technology, there's going to be a pandemic, there's going to be a recession, there's going to be a windfall, there's going to be all of those different things. But being able to be nimble and to adjust is how the great succeed in life, right? That's how you're able to navigate through life and not sweat the small stuff, because things are going to come. And hey, we woke up the next day and we have 24 more hours to get it right.
That's right.
We can't change what happened yesterday, and we have no clue what's going to happen tomorrow. But we focus on the main thing today and giving your best self that day. And this is something I tell my kids, man, just give you 100% for this day. I can't change what happened yesterday. It happened. I have no clue what's going to happen tomorrow. Be your best self today. Own the vision of success today. And you'll be good.
That's powerful. Yeah, definitely. Just own your vision today. And one of the best advice I got was, there's a difference of being on the court and being in the stands. And if you want to create your own vision, you have to be on the court. And this was definitely on the court conversation with you. Thank you. I appreciate you. How can people find you?
Oh man, the easiest way, me, Jason L. Warner, like all social, Jason L. Warner or Own the Vision. I'm there both spaces, man. It's easy to find me. I'm a regular guy, so easy to reach out. I don't have people, managing social medias. I'm not that big. I'm a dad with 4 children and a wife. We're trying to do every day to be better than we were the next day. We fumble some days, but we get back up. But man, I appreciate it. This is amazing opportunity to talk to you, to talk to your audience. To just be real humans and be vulnerable a little bit too. Thank you.
No, thank you, man. Before we leave, do you have another gem in your bag you want to let the people know?
Man, just it kind of piggybacks off of what you just said. You talked about you got to get on the court. Life is going to be obstacles, and I wish I had it. It's not behind me, but I have it on my arm as a rhino, right? My dad's favorite animal is the rhinoceros. And he always tells me, he was like, man, I love the rhinoceros because like it's probably the most powerful animal in nature, right? People think the lion is the king of the jungle. But that rhinoceros, no matter what happens, he puts his head down, keeps going, boom. And he's like, you just got to keep going through life. Like storms are going to come. You're going to keep getting wet if you just stand there. But if you keep moving, the storm is going to pass you. Be like the rhinoceros, put your head down, keep moving. And you'll be all right. And it sticks with me every day. I when there's bad days, like, well, guess what? The storm's gonna go. I gotta put my head down and keep moving. And we'll be all right. And be okay with the uncomfortable and not knowing and not being able to control it. Being okay with the pivot. Being okay with keeping your why, but being okay with saying, my tactic could change a little bit. So guys, on the vision of success, go be great.
That's right. Be great, man. Again, thank you for spending your time with me. Please follow him on social media. All of his link is going to be in the description below, as well as his wife. Link is going to be on low. So support, man. This is amazing. This has been an amazing conversation. This is Dad is Not a Now. My name is Ishmael, and we're out. Peace.
Appreciate it.